Well, it's that time again.
What time is that?
It's time to get naked.
Like all the way naked?
Well, keep your clothes on, but it's time for the Naked Party Time podcast, where we get real and raw about life, leadership, and love.
While having lots of fun along the way.
So what do you say? Are you ready to get naked?
Let's do it.
The official registration for a 12-day trip to Israel that I am leading from March 11th through March 22nd of 2025 is open, and space is limited. And today, on episode 49 of the Naked Party Time podcast, we're going to be unveiling all the details of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Well, welcome back, or welcome for the very first time. If you're watching us on YouTube, hello to you there as well. My name is Jeff Manis. I am joined, as always, by my co-host, my wife, my Israel insider, my tour trip advisor, my podcast partner, and my queen, Sabrina.
Well, thank you for that introduction.
How you doing today, Sabrina?
I'm doing pretty good.
I'm always trying to find a different way to add little names for you,
I like it.
but I always end with my queen,
No.
because you're my queen.
Yeah, that's what my name means. Legendary princess.
That's right. So it doesn't mean queen. You've already made a mistake.
But same type of, royalty.
Same arena.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Can you believe we already have the next Israel trip planned?
No.
I'm excited.
Let's go tomorrow.
I know. I wish we could. I'm pretty sure I was making plans for the next trip while we were on this trip
Yes,
a few months ago.
We were talking about it.
If you haven't watched or listened to the last episode, go back to episode 48. You can hear all about our recent trip to Israel. You can even watch or listen to one of the teachings I did while we were there on a boat on the Sea of Galilee. We are now 21 months away from the next Israel trip.
Wow.
And it is never too early to start making your plans. To sign up or to get all the information on the trip, you can go to my website, jeffmanis.com, click on the Israel 2025 link. I provide a lot of details there. In fact, all the details you should need for the trip. You can also go to theharbor.life, click on events. You can find information there as well. We are going to be limiting the trip we're going to start at 40 registrations. If there's enough interest, we can go to 50. But 50 is the absolute max. And we already have 19 paid registrations.
Yeah, we're like halfway there.
Yeah. So it's not even public yet until this airs.
Yeah.
And then I'll be announcing it on Sunday at the church as well. I thought there was a chair here. I was going to put my arm down.
No, we took the chair away.
We are using a tour company called Faith-Based Expeditions. It'll be my third trip with this company, and they do a fantastic job of serving us before and during our time in Israel. Today, we want to walk through the itinerary, highlight a few things, talk about the places we'll be seeing, and then we'll give you all the cost and registration details at the end. Again, the trip is 12 days, which includes our travel days. It will be 9 full days of touring on the ground in Israel. The cost of the trip includes all lodging, entry fees to the sites, bus transportation, meals, bottled water. Once the tour begins in Israel, really once the tour starts, everything is taken care of for you with your registration cost. We'll be led by an expert Israeli tour guide, included in the cost as well. He'll provide outstanding teaching along the way. Bless you.
Thanks.
I'll be doing some Bible teaching at some of my favorite sites, and we will once again, bless you,
Sorry.
be providing live worship, this time with Chris Taylor.
The one and only
Chris Taylor, our worship arts pastor at the Harbor. He'll be joining us, Lord willing, on this trip as well. Every hotel we stay at has a full buffet breakfast and dinner, and then lunch is scheduled each day at one of the local restaurants in the areas that we are touring, all included in the cost of the trip. The food is Mediterranean, mostly, and almost every place we go to is kosher, meaning no pork, and then there's no dairy products served at the same meal where there's meat. So if there's meat served, there's no dairy. If there's dairy served, there's no meat. That's part of the kosher.
I found
meal
that
plan.
dairy was served at breakfast and not at dinner.
Correct.
Is basically how it
Correct.
went.
So we personally Love the food.
Yes.
Not everyone does. When we were in Jerusalem, there were some folks on our last tour who went out on their own for a few meals. They didn't eat the buffet that the hotels offered. You're free to do that, although your meals are covered. So if you go out to eat, it's extra expense. What would you say about the food, Sabrina?
I think the food is amazing.
We loved it.
I'm like craving certain things even a couple months out. Like the
cottage
cheese
is the best ever.
Such a weird thing, but like
it was
seriously the best. I ate cottage cheese today for lunch and I'm like, this is dumb. I want Israel cottage cheese. And just like the dairy in the morning for breakfast, there's like so many different feta cheese dips and goat cheese and just like all these
tons of vegetables.
Yeah, tons of veggies. And the hummus.
Yeah, is amazing.
If you don't like hummus, try it in Israel because it might change. And then I had the best. I know you don't like this, but it wasn't fried chicken, but it was like, I don't know, boiled chicken legs, baked chicken legs. The meat just fell off the bone. Like it was delicious. I mean, I could just go on and on about how good the food is. And the desserts.
Desserts were like a lot.
Like it's small portions. You can try a bunch of different things.
Yep. Now, there were people who grew tired of the Mediterranean style and wanted American food. Mm-hmm.
But hey, I did have the best hamburger and hot dog I think I've ever had over there. Yeah. And French fries were so good.
Yeah. So there's options. It's 11 days, 12 days.
Yeah.
So
I think they do an excellent job on the food.
I do too.
We were well fed.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
We were overfed.
Yeah.
It's a good thing we do so much walking because that counteracts for all the eating.
You are able, if you want to arrive early and stay late. To add some personal days to your tour. We had a number of people do that this last trip. They added some sites for themselves that weren't on the official tour. Several people went over to the country of Jordan to see Petra. Some went to the Holocaust Museum in Jerusalem or the Israel Museum in Jerusalem as well. We will see a ton of things on our trip, but there is just so much you can't fit into even a 12-day experience. So anything you want to add before we dive into the itinerary?
Yeah, it is a lot of information. Like you'll want to figure out, do I take notes? Yeah. Do I not write anything down? Am I just a picture taker? Because it is a little overwhelming.
You took notes on your phone.
Yeah, I took notes in my notes app. Plus I took pictures. And then when we got home, I went back and connected the pictures to my notes. So now I can look through it and remember everything.
Yep. So you see a ton.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So here we go. Each person takes care of their own travel costs to get there and back. The cost of the trip does not include airfare.
Yeah.
We do that so people can use their airline miles or credit card points or try to find the best deals for their budget. It also allows people to fly in a day or two early or stay a day or two late to add things to their own experience. If we all traveled together and built the cost into the trip, we wouldn't have the freedom to do that.
Yeah.
So the last trip, we personally flew in one day early. It was a game changer. It gave us one entire free day before the tour began, which allowed us to rest a bit, adjust to the time difference, and then do some of our own activities on the trip as well. So,
did you just have a brain fart?
Yes, I did.
Oh, good. It's not just me.
Yeah. I looked at my notes. I'm like, what was I saying there?
Does that happen when you're preaching ever?
It has happened before I remember one time at Element.
I kind of remember that
I lost my place. I got away from my notes, lost my place, so much so that I couldn't find it. Sometimes I'll be able to turn a page or something on my iPad, figure out where I'm at, just make up a few words. But I had to stop and I had to apologize and say, I am sorry. I have completely lost where I am. I need to find my place. But it didn't happen
I vaguely remember that happening because you are pretty good at...
Doesn't happen very much.
Yeah. Well, you've had a lot of practice.
Yeah. So when we arrive in Israel, we stay the first night in Tel Aviv at the Dan Panorama Hotel, which is a beautiful hotel right across the street from the Mediterranean Sea. The first night together, we'll have a group meet and greet event following the buffet dinner, where we'll have a private conference room to do some worship, a brief teaching, share important information about our tour. This last trip was the first time we did that, and it was awesome to kick off our tour with a teaching that set the stage for the whole week, as well as do some worship together.
Well, and it was nice to, like, we had everybody go around, introduce themselves. So that helped kind of connect people, especially this last trip was like Element, Harbor, and other churches mixed in. So that was helpful. The buffet at this place is amazing. Like the honeycomb. You guys, the food. Just, you need to like Mediterranean food. It's so good.
The first day of the tour, we leave Tel Aviv. We drive up the coast and visit Caesarea Maritima. Here we'll get to worship and hear teaching inside the arena where Paul was held on trial at the end of the book of Acts before he was sent to Rome on a boat. It's also the city where Peter would visit the home of the Roman centurion Cornelius, and an entire household of Gentiles was saved and baptized. We'll tour the ruins of the city as well as the ruins of Herod's palace there, and we'll see the remains of some prison cells where it's believed Paul would have been held during the few years he was there. It's one of my favorite places, and it's a great way to start the trip.
And when we were there, they were still digging out.
They found some new prison cells.
Yes, so by the time we get to
It'll be unveiled.
That'll be exciting. And the water is beautiful.
Yeah, the Mediterranean Sea is gorgeous.
So to think about like King Herod's palace. And
there's a hippodrome where they do the chariot races.
Yes, you can see that. But just like seeing the view of what they had, or even where like the view, if Paul could look out his prison cell, like, I don't know if he could see the water or not, but it'd be amazing view.
So I think every trip I've gone on with faith-based expeditions, we start the very first thing as Caesarea Maritima.
Is there a reason for that?
I think it's because of the proximity to Tel Aviv.
Oh, okay.
It's just
Makes sense.
Yeah, you pass it on the way to Sea of Galilee.
Yeah.
So from there, we go up to Mount Carmel, where Elijah had his showdown with the prophets of Baal. We go to Nazareth, the town where Jesus grew up, and we'll tour a replica first century village that includes some remains of a first century farm that was discovered there. It's super cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Gives you a very clear idea of what life could have looked like for Jesus and his family. They actually have live actors.
Dress
they dress like first century
and there's
people.
Animals there. I mean, it looks legit. They did a great job.
We also go to Mount Precipice outside of Nazareth, a place where it's believed the crowds took Jesus in Luke chapter 4 to throw him off the cliff after he claimed to be the Messiah while reading scripture in the synagogue. And then after Nazareth, we end our day at a hotel on the Sea of Galilee. This is one of the hotels that we are upgrading from our last trip. It will either be the GALEI KINNERET Hotel or the U Boutique Hotel, both on the shore of the Sea of Galilee. And let me tell you, there is nothing like waking up in the morning and seeing the sunrise over the Sea of Galilee.
Yeah, this is the perfect hotel to have jet lag, because when you can't sleep, you don't miss a sunrise. And it is
You were up every morning watching sunrise.
I was having trouble adjusting, but it was worth it. My goodness. I did not want to leave the Sea of Galilee. It was so pretty.
For the next 3 days, we'll be touring the area around the Sea of Galilee, which is where most of Jesus' ministry took place. We will see a ton of things, but are still only touching the surface of all the places we could see from Jesus' ministry. On the first day in Galilee, we'll head up to Mount Tabor, which is the traditional site of the Transfiguration. We'll have a private place on top of the mountain for a teaching and time of worship. From there, we go to another one of my favorite places called Peter's Primacy. It's on the beach where it is believed that Jesus appeared to the disciples in John chapter 21 after his resurrection, the place where he made breakfast for them and then had the conversation with Peter where he asked them, "Do you love me?" On our last trip, we were able to secure a private place on the beach and had just an unbelievable time of worship and looking into God's word. I don't think there's a dry eye in the group in that moment.
I hope we're able to get that again, because it was fairly busy when we showed up, and I was kind of disappointed. But then Boaz threw out the red carpet, and it was amazing.
We'll do a boat ride on the Sea of Galilee that first day there. getting to worship out on the sea and do some teaching in the Word. And we'll visit the ruins of Capernaum, which was most likely the base camp city for the majority of Jesus' ministry. We'll see first century houses in Capernaum, even seeing the home that is believed to be Peter's house, where Jesus would have stayed, and where the 4 men brought the paralyzed man on a mat and tore a hole in the roof to get him to Jesus.
Yeah, I remember standing there and like with Jada and trying to picture them living in that. Because, we have our houses now, which look so different. And so you see that and you're like, is that the living room? What do they do there? Like, it's amazing to see that.
Yep. The next day in Galilee, we will head up north to the far edge of Israel to visit Tel Dan for a short hike through a beautiful nature preserve, which contains ruins of a city there, pagan altars of worship that were built by Israel's kings, and a 4,000-year-old gate into the city where Abraham would have visited when he rescued Lot in the book of Genesis. It's unreal to stand in front of that gate.
Yeah, I wish we could walk through it, but
4,000 years old.
It's amazing.
It is amazing. When they found it and they've preserved it, it's pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. We will also visit Caesarea Philippi, which is in my top 5 places we go. It's the place where Jesus took his disciples and asked them, "Who do people say that I am?" Mm-hmm. And then he told them, "I will build my church, and all the powers of hell, or the gates of hell, shall not prevail against it." And we see there the cave called the Gates of Hell. That was the center of pagan worship of the Greek god Pan. People would sacrifice their virgin daughters and throw them into that cave at this place called the Gates of Hell, thinking they were pleasing the god Pan. And at that cave is where Jesus said, "Not even this can stop what I'm about to do." It's pretty amazing.
It is amazing.
We'll have a time of teaching and worship there as well. It's a powerful place for me every time to stand in that place where Jesus made that defining statement of his ministry.
Well, and it was once such a horrific thing, but seeing it today, it's beautiful. Yep. There's water and rivers, and I mean, it's amazing.
Yep. And to think that like that pagan practice, which was centered there at that day, it's all gone.
Yeah.
It's ruins. But the church remains.
Yes. Yeah.
Like,
that's so cool.
What he said is happening. Nothing can stop my church.
Yeah.
And to stand there, the place where he said it, it's incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible. From there, we'll end our day with a trip to the ruins of Bethsaida, which is one of the possible locations of the feeding of the 5,000. We'll also go to the Mount of Beatitudes, the believed location of the Sermon on the Mount. We were able to get a private place of worship on the Mount of Beatitudes, overlooking the Sea of Galilee. Had an amazing time in the Word.
Yes, and hopefully we can get that again.
Yeah, and in worship. I've not been to Bethsaida before, so it's a new location.
I'm excited for that.
We're trying to secure a sack lunch for that day that we could then eat while in the field.
Like 5 loaves, 2 fishes kind of lunch.
Yep. So not sure if it'll work, but it'd be super cool to be in the possible place of the feeding of the 5,000 and have lunch while we look into the Word. Could be super cool. And then the third day in Galilee, we'll leave our hotel that morning and start heading south through Israel. We start the day at Mount Arbel, which is this huge scenic overlook over the Galilee region.
You can see forever.
You can see everything. It's amazing. We'll do some worship and teaching at the top of the mountain. We then go to Magdala, a city right on the Sea of Galilee, which will be another new location for us. Mm-hmm. It's the hometown of Mary Magdalene, hence Magdala. And they have found the remains of a first century synagogue. It's one of only a few first century synagogues from the days of Jesus that have been discovered in the Galilee region. And scholars are very certain that Jesus would have taught in that synagogue. Mm-hmm. So it'll be a new stop for us. Super excited about that.
We ate at the restaurant there this last time, so we've seen it.
Yeah, you can see the ruins out the window.
We didn't get to walk through it.
But our tour guide said, you need to add this to your tour next time. So we're adding that to our tour.
I love that the reason that was discovered, too, was to build this restaurant. And it's a hotel, too, I think?
Yeah, it's the Magdala Hotel.
So when they went to dig, they found
the ruins of the
I love that.
synagogue.
That's amazing.
Yep. After lunch, we'll drive to a place called Bethany beyond the Jordan, which is the traditional site of where Jesus was baptized by John the Baptist, and where it's believed the Israelites crossed the Jordan just outside of Jericho to enter the Promised Land. We'll do worship, a teaching from the Word, and then enjoy baptism in the Jordan River in the same general area where Jesus would have been baptized. It was a moving time, to say the least. On our first trip to Israel, we were both baptized in the Jordan, and it's so cool to baptize people there and celebrate with them as they do it.
I think we had like 31.
Yep. And then that random lady.
Yeah, baptized.
Yep.
Which was awesome.
It is awesome. We'll end our day by checking into the next hotel on the shore of the Dead Sea. This is also a new stop for us.
I'm so excited.
The hotel is the VERT, V-E-R-T, Dead Sea Hotel, where we will stay overnight and then enjoy a Sabbath day of rest the next day.
Yes, Sabbath.
This will be the very first time that we are adding a day of rest, and I am so excited that we're doing this.
It's going to help tremendously.
Yep. So this will be the, we have one. It'll be the fifth day. The fifth day of the tour will be our Sabbath day of rest. I think one. Yeah, then we have 3 days there. Yeah. Be our fifth day of the tour. And let me tell you, by that time in the trip, you have already heard so much information and experienced so many things. It's hard for your brain to process it all.
Yeah.
And your body starts to take a toll.
Yeah.
So by adding the day of rest, not only are we able to recoup our bodies, but our minds and spirits can also process what we've already taken in, and then we get ready for the last half of the tour.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing.
Yep.
And especially like for us who are introverts and we need that quiet time. I kind of didn't, I mean, I wish I would have slept a little bit better, but because I was awake for so long, I felt like I had such a long time to spend with Jesus in the morning before I had to start my day peopling. And I felt like that helped to re-energize. But to have Sabbath, oh, you guys, you should practice Sabbath. It's amazing.
A life-changing thing.
Oh, it is for sure.
The VERT Hotel at the Dead Sea has its own private access to the Dead Sea. So on our Sabbath rest day, you can enjoy a float in the Dead Sea, which is a trip, let me tell you. The salt content is so high that you literally cannot sink. You just float on the top of the water.
Hey, I remembered this from our trip. So in ocean water, because we live by the ocean or the Gulf, there's only 3% of salt in every drop. But for the Dead Sea, it's 35% salt in every drop. Yeah. So that kind of helps give you a visual of the difference between the ocean and the Dead Sea.
And there's nothing. There's no plant life. There's no animal life.
No, nothing can live there. Yeah, it's literally the Dead Sea. Dead. Yeah.
So since we are not touring on this day, it's the only day where lunch is on our own.
Okay, so one day that they'll need to buy their own lunch, basically.
But there's a hotel restaurant as well as some area options to get something to eat. So we'll
really, we could go without lunch because we eat so much for breakfast.
Yes, you could eat a huge breakfast and a huge dinner and be totally fine. So then that next day, we'll leave the VERT Hotel and head to my all-time favorite place in Israel, a place called En-Gedi. En-Gedi is a beautiful oasis in the middle of the desert where King David hid from Saul and most likely hid from his son Absalom as well. It's also where he wrote some of his Psalms, or at the very least referred to En-Gedi in his Psalms. It is incredibly peaceful and powerful to be in this place. We'll do some teaching, some worship, and then each tour participant will have a choice. This is the first time we're doing this too.
Yeah.
Those who wish to visit Masada, which is where King Herod built a fortress on top of a giant rock formation in the desert. It is pretty fascinating to see if you've never been. But the bus will take those who wish to tour Masada, which is just a few miles away, while those who want to stay in En-Gedi for the rest of the morning can stay there. If you stay at En-Gedi, we will hike up to David's Falls, which is beautiful.
Yes.
We'll visit the different natural springs throughout the area, and then we'll spend time in the Word and in reflection. So on that day, which I believe is like the 6th day that we're actually touring, you have to choose to stay at En-Gedi or start with En-Gedi and go to Masada.
So you'll still get to see part of En-Gedi.
Yep.
You won't get to see David's Falls.
Correct.
But you'll
see the first falls.
You'll see the first falls, which that is beautiful as well. And then you can make that choice.
I've been to Masada now
three
times.
I've been twice.
I don't care to go back.
No, I'm staying at Engedi.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
If you've never seen Masada, though,
you probably should see Masada at least once.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
after you've seen it once, and then you see Engedi, you're like, I think I'll stay at Engedi. Everybody's different, though, and that's totally fine.
We will then all meet up for lunch, start our way up the hills to Jerusalem. Along the way, we stop at a scenic overlook in the Judean wilderness where we will view a valley that is called the Valley of the Shadow of Death. Mm-hmm. And it is breathtaking.
Oh, man, it's amazing
to see that whole valley. We'll then enter Jerusalem, check into our final hotel of the trip. It's another place where we're upgrading. So we can't reserve them yet. So it's either going to be the Olive Tree Hotel or the Dan Panorama Jerusalem. Both of them are very nice. They're upgrades from where we stayed last time, which the place we stayed last time I didn't think was bad.
Well, aren't they all three together?
They're all three right in a row, yeah.
But these two are a little bit nicer than the one we stayed in?
Yep.
Interesting.
So from this point on, the rest of our tour will be in and around the area of Jerusalem. We're staying in that one final hotel. So again, we'll start in Tel Aviv, night 1 at the Dan Panorama. We drive from there we'll end up at Galilee, and we'll have one of those 2 upgraded hotels. We're in the Galilee area for 3 days.
2 nights.
We go down to the VERT Hotel at the Dead Sea for 1 night, make our way up to Jerusalem, and then we're there for the rest of our time. On the first day in Jerusalem, so we're kind of mixing up the order. We're learning as we go here. Mm-hmm. So we're going to start in the old city of David, where we'll see the archaeological remains of King David's time period, as well as have the chance to walk through Hezekiah's tunnel, a 2,700-year-old tunnel dug during the days of King Hezekiah, and it is an engineering marvel.
Yeah.
There's actually 2 tunnels. What was the one you walked through?
I did the dry tunnel.
The dry tunnel, and there's the Hezekiah's is the wet tunnel.
Yeah.
The dry tunnel is called something else. It's from another time period. But anyway, it's amazing to see this tunnel that they dug out by hand through stone.
It.
Yeah.
Like, with their little hammers and chisel, because full humans can, I mean, could you stand up straight in the wet tunnel?
Only in a couple of places.
Okay, I'm not that tall, but I could stand up straight the whole way through the dry tunnel. So that is a lot of rock to knock out.
At the end of the tunnel is the Pool of Siloam, where we'll spend some time in teaching. Then we'll drive to the...
Ooh, which they're not discovered yet. Is that where it was still dirt? The pools of Siloam?
Yeah, but the steps were there. The first century
steps were there.
But they've not uncovered the whole...
But
it's
by
still
the time
under
we
excavation.
get there,
it should be a lot. It might be completely uncovered.
Oh, that'll be exciting.
Yeah.
It was literally a pile of dirt.
Yeah.
Because 6 weeks prior to us being there, a house was there. Somebody was living on top of it.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yep. So we'll drive to the old city of Jerusalem, visit the Western Wall, also called the Wailing Wall. It's the holiest site for Jewish people. We'll also visit that day, on the first day in Jerusalem, the southern steps. Outside the wall where the temple entrance would have been. There are very few places in Israel where we know Jesus would have walked here. And the southern steps, the original steps of the temple, we know for certain Jesus walked there. Mm-hmm. So the steps they have there are 1st century steps. Not only did Jesus walk there, he probably taught there, because they're also called the teaching steps. It's where rabbis would be outside of the temple gates teaching their disciples.
He went to Jerusalem 3 times a year at least as a kid even. Yeah. So he grew up on the southern steps, just like every little Jewish boy.
Yep. He would have been there when his parents lost him.
Yeah, he would have been there teaching when they were looking for him when he was 12.
Yep, it's pretty cool to see those You put your hand on the steps and Jesus was on these steps.
Yeah, and as a kid, he was probably all over the place.
It's
so probably safe to stand anywhere, and he was probably there.
Yep. We'll then walk through the old city of Jerusalem along the Via Dolorosa to the pools of Bethesda, where Jesus healed the paralyzed man in John 5, and then we return to our hotel for the night. So that's the first day in Jerusalem.
Will be one of the biggest walking days.
Yes, it is a lot of walking.
It is a lot of walking, and
Jerusalem.
It's a lot of little stairs and up and down. I remember thinking this was one of the biggest days for walking.
And it's a little bit, we're changing some of what we're doing, but that will be a long walking day.
Yeah. And depending on how busy it is, it's a day where we got to kind of stick together.
Yes.
It's a little bit more crowded.
Yep.
There's shops everywhere. It's amazing to see, but you do got to watch where you're walking.
Yep. The following day, so our second day in Jerusalem, we'll begin with a visit to the Mount of Olives and a beautiful view of Temple Mount and the city of Jerusalem. Lord willing, we'll walk down Palm Sunday Road, as long as it's not raining.
Yeah.
With a stop at Dominus Flevit Church, the place where it's believed Jesus paused and wept over the city. Then we'll visit one of the most moving locations of our trip. Maybe it might be the most moving.
I think it is. In my book it is.
The Garden of Gethsemane. We get a private area in the garden where we'll spend time in the Word, reflecting on the agony that Jesus was in on that night he was arrested. We'll also spend some time in worship, praising Jesus for what he's done. Mm-hmm. It is overwhelming to be in the spot where we know, like in this spot, Jesus begged the Father for another way. You're getting emotional.
I know. I'm going to cry.
It is amazing. You want to say anything?
No.
Okay. Probably can't say anything.
No.
Okay. So from the Garden of Gethsemane, then we'll go through the Zion Gate in Jerusalem, walk along the ancient road there, stopping at a place called the Pavement. It's the traditional site where it's believed Jesus would have stood while being tried by Pilate, beaten and scourged, and then began his walk with the cross to Golgotha. We'll once again see stones that it's believed Jesus would have walked on during and after his trial before Pilate. After our time of teaching and worship there, which again is powerful, we'll provide an optional tour again. So this is the second optional tour of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. It's one of the two believed locations where Jesus was crucified and rose from the dead. It's not the site that I prefer, as it's been completely covered and controlled by the church. Like there's 4 or 5 different churches, like the Roman Catholic Church, the Greek Orthodox Church, the Russian Orthodox Church, the Coptic Church. I think maybe one more.
I think there's 5
They all kind of control this area, and they have their own segments of the church building, and it's just completely covered in
You have to work really hard to look past all of the things hanging, dangling everywhere,
and just shoulder to shoulder people.
Yeah.
And there's nothing there's nothing that remains from the original look.
Right.
Like you
every square inch is covered in some kind of
ornament or relic.
I guess relic is a good word. Yeah. It's like it's hard to look past all of that. It is very hard to look past it. You stand in a long line waiting to get in.
Now,
but if you've never seen it,
I've been twice, you've been once. After my second time, I just said, I don't care to come back. I will say the vast majority of scholars believe it's most likely the better location. But I prefer the Garden Tomb, which will be on the it's the very, very last thing we do.
So if you choose to go to this, then we'll just have free time.
Correct. Yep.
The other people will have free time.
Yep. So those wishing to see the Church of the Holy Sepulchre can do that. The tour guide will go with you. He'll provide all the information.
And just like the tour guide will also go with you to Masada.
Correct.
You won't be going without. Even though we won't be attending with you, somebody is there to take care of you.
And then those who don't want to go to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, they can either return to the hotel, which they got to find their own transportation back because the bus is staying with the optional tour people.
But it's easy to take taxis.
It's very close. Yeah.
We could probably walk.
You can walk.
Yeah.
So you got to return to the hotel, or you can have free time to shop and see the city and then head back to.
Yeah, because when we walk through the city the day before this day, you will see a lot of things you will wish you could come back to. So this would be a good day to go back and
so there's some free time built in. Then our final day of touring is going to be super cool. We built it this way on purpose. It's going to be fun. We're going to start the day in Bethlehem, the birthplace of Jesus, visiting. There's we'll have some shopping we do there because there's a Christian-owned.
Oh, yeah, and it's awesome.
It is awesome. a Christian-owned souvenir shop. Couldn't think of the word. And it's one of the very few Christian-owned shops in Bethlehem, because Bethlehem is now under Palestinian control and is majority Muslim. Very few Christians live in Bethlehem.
And this Christian store supports like 90 plus families. Yeah. It's amazing, and it's huge.
Yeah. Yep.
And
so
they're so kind in there.
They are. Anyway, we're going to visit the Church of the Nativity in Bethlehem, where it is believed Jesus was born, in the cave that's under the church. And we'll get to enter into the cave and see the birthplace of Jesus. It's not one of my favorite locations because it's been changed by the churches on top of it. Mm-hmm. But if you've never seen it, you'll want to. Because it's where, the vast majority.
Yeah. All religions agree.
That's what we were told, that all major religions agree this is the spot where he was born.
But again, it's been adorned.
Adorned's a good word.
And it's hard to see past all the things and picture what a cave looked like.
And because of that, we are also going to visit a place called Shepherd's Field, just outside of Bethlehem. It's a field with dozens of caves.
There's 17 caves.
Where shepherds would watch their flocks of sheep. And it very well could have been the very caves where the angels appeared to the shepherds on the night that Christ was born. There, those caves are untouched. And so, but there's remains of people living in them.
Yes.
Like it's set up for people living in them.
Yeah.
So we'll be able to enter some of those caves and see the cave dwellings, much like they would have been in the days of Jesus. So it gives you a little bit better idea of maybe, where Jesus would have been born. And then we'll eat lunch in Bethlehem and head to the crowning site in Christian history, the place of the skull, Golgotha, where Christ was crucified, and the garden tomb. They're in the same location. There at the tomb, we will get a private area where we'll do worship. We'll dig into God's word, receive communion at the very place where Christ rose from the dead. We'll have some free time at the end of the day, head back to the hotel, and then the next day, depart for home.
The next day is such a sad day. You have to leave.
I know, you do have to leave. It's hard to leave, too.
It is very hard
to leave. And not just like, we haven't said this. This is not a vacation.
No, not at all.
Like, it's not real restful.
You are well taken care of.
But it's not
like a vacation. Like, there's no worries or stress in the sense of where am I going to eat? What am I going to do? That type of things. But no, it is like overloading on your brain. There's no rest for your brain or your spirit. Or physical or your emotions.
Yeah, your emotions. Oh, yeah.
Because you don't know how it's going to affect you to stand and see and be. And
so when we say it's hard to leave, it's not because it's like this awesome vacation location. It's because I truly do believe something happens to your spirit when you're there. It's amazing.
Yeah. Like
the way I worded it was, you leave a piece of your heart in Israel, you take a piece of Israel with you.
Yeah.
And everybody said that. Mm-hmm. So those are the details for the trip. Now I know you want to go. If you want, again, I share every single detail on my website. Go to jeffmass.com, click on Israel 2025. I have the details for registration, for travel, for cancellation, if you need to cancel your trip, like everything that it covers. And then every single day's itinerary is on my website. Because and you think what we just went through is a lot. Wait till you experience it. Mm-hmm. So how much is it? Well, the cost of the trip is $4,141
We probably should have made sure people were sitting down.
Yeah. $4,140 plus your airfare. Again, this includes all on-site tour costs. The cost of the bus, which is like a 60-person luxury
we were
coach.
In a brand new bus this last time. It
had
was
Wi-Fi
nice.
on the bus.
Yes.
It was nice. So the cost of the bus driver, the Israeli tour guide, all the teachings, all the worship, the entry fees, the bottled water, the hotel, every meal.
Except for one
lunch. Yes, it's a lot, $4,100. But when you break it down per day that we're there, 10 nights, it's not that much. It's $414 a night.
Yeah.
Which includes all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about it,
you can't go on vacation for that.
So when you consider everything you receive, it's a lot. I'm not saying it's not.
Yeah.
But when you break it down by day.
But we're saying it's worth it.
Yes, it is worth it.
If you can fit it into your budget, it's worth the sacrifice.
And I tell people this all the time. It is a faith investment.
Yeah.
Your faith will never be the same after a trip to Israel. Now, this is an estimated cost, by the way, because some of the costs on certain aspects of the tour cannot be finalized until the end of 2023. You just can't get costs that far in advance. However, because of the expressed interest that we had received for the next trip, we wanted to get this one planned and open for people to register. And again, there's already 19 people signed up. Mm-hmm. So the cost of the trip is also based on 40 registrations, and a minimum of 20 people registered for the trip are required. So we're going to get there. We already have 19, and I think we'll get to 40. So the initial deposit.
Okay, can I ask you this?
Yep.
Because you said you'd be willing to go up to 50,
yes.
So then
I don't think from 40 to 50 it changes.
It changes. Okay, I just wanted to.
I think if it was like 80, it would change.
Right.
But not from 40 to 50. The deposit is $500 per person, and the full balance is due on November 29th of 2024. So you got a ways before the full balance is due. Mm-hmm. Faith-Based Expeditions has worked extremely hard to make this as accurate as they can, based on the information and cost they currently know. But because this is an estimated amount, they are making an exception to their cancellation policy that they don't normally do.
Oh, okay.
Anyone who registers prior to the final tour price being confirmed, once the price is confirmed, mm-hmm. you'll have 14 days to cancel your trip and receive a full deposit refund.
Wow.
They normally don't do that. It's normally non-refundable. But because it's an estimated cost, so let's say the cost comes back and it's actually, whoa.
Oh my gosh.
Lightning scared me.
Scared me.
If the cost comes back at $4,500 a person, you would have 14 days to cancel if you don't want to pay $4,500.
Okay. Does
that make sense?
Yeah, that's awesome.
After that 14-day grace period, hate when that happens. After that 14-day grace period, all registrants will be subject to the terms of the cancellation section in their terms and conditions.
That makes sense.
Okay.
That's very generous.
It is.
Of Russ and his company.
Faith-Based Expeditions will also work hand in hand with all registrants throughout the process to make sure that each person has all the information they need for the trip.
And I think everybody would say from the last trip that Russ did an excellent job walking with them, helping them, answering questions.
Even once we're on site, he's available.
Yeah, because we were texting him and...
Yep. So there you go. A full look at our next trip to Israel in 2025. Once again, go to my website, jeffmass.com, click on the Israel 2025 link, or go to the harbor.life, click on events, and you'll find the information there as well. We'll be back next month with another episode, not on Israel, I promise.
Hey, I want to say one more thing. You don't have to be from the harbor to go on this trip.
Yes.
Just wanted to remind you guys of that. Anybody is
Anybody
allowed to go on this trip.
Correct. That's good. We actually have 4 people already signed up from a church in Kansas City, Missouri, that we have a connection to. So, yeah, you don't have to be a part of the harbor. Yeah. It is open to anybody. We will be back next month with another episode, not about Israel. We'll go on to something else. If you haven't yet, we'd love for you to subscribe to the podcast. If also you would like it, rate it, and review it on all the platforms, that would be fantastic. The best thing to do, though, is share the podcast with others. If you have questions, comments, or podcast suggestions, you can email my assistant Janice at hello@jeffmanis.com. Sabrina, why don't we end with our marriage mission? We are united in Christ, unstoppable with Christ, and unbreakable because of Christ. Now it's time for you to go get naked
and partay.
We'll see you on the other side. You've been listening to the Naked Party Time podcast. Join us next time as we get real and raw about life, leadership, and love.